Within 10 years, most of the fiat money in the world today is going to be worthless.
Max Keiser of the Keiser Report has issued his prediction for most fiat currencies within the next 10 years. The former CEO of Hollywood Stock Exchange believes most fiat currencies, including major ones such as the US dollar, the Chinese yuan, and the Japanese yen, will be worthless within the next 10 years. According to Keiser, the inevitable collapse has already begun, and people, institutions, and countries are frantically searching for the next big thing, which Keiser believes is Bitcoin. He also adds that the movement has started in the Central American country of El Salvador, where Keiser and his wife Stacy Herbert currently reside. Keiser and his wife are seeking citizenship in El Salvador to escape what he calls the decline in the political and socio-economic scene in the United States. Welcome to Savvy Finance. In this video, we examine Max Keiser's thoughts on the hyperbolic money printing mania that is crippling most fiat currencies. The American broadcaster and filmmaker also talks at length about the current economic situation in El Salvador and how Bitcoin is contributing to the country's growth and development. Please watch the video to the end, give it a thumbs up, and subscribe to the channel. If you like our content, you can also turn on post notifications so you never miss any of our videos. Enjoy! The co-founder and former CEO of the Hollywood Stock Exchange, Max Keiser, continues to show his support for the Salvadoran government's initiative to build its economic development on Bitcoin. Last year, the Central American government made Bitcoin a legal tender in addition to the US dollar. Since then, the country has announced a series of ventures that are geared towards supporting the growth of the coin. Most recently, El Salvador announced it would be launching the world's first Bitcoin-backed bonds. The 10-year bonds are currently capped at $1 billion with a 6.5 interest rate. The bonds will be used to back the first phase of the construction of El Salvador's Bitcoin mining city, which would run entirely on geothermal energy. Listen to Keiser's explanation of the project and how Bitcoin has been supporting the economic growth of El Salvador.
Volcano bonds, as you state, it's Bitcoin-backed bonds. So it's a 10-year bond. Half the money is going to go into Bitcoin, and that Bitcoin has a 5-year lockup. The other half goes into infrastructure. It pays a 6.5% coupon, and after 5 years, investors start getting back a portion of their Bitcoin, so there's a lot of potential upside there. And it's initially a $1 billion offer, although it looks like it's going to be oversubscribed pretty substantially. And the stage is set for up to 20 billion of these bonds, which would be fantastic for El Salvador. The bonds will be ready to go in February. There's already geothermal facilities up and running right now. So they've got the geothermal energy happening, and they'll be building that out. So there's plenty of room to keep building that out. And it's a proven model. They've got proof of concept. And there's a big market for these bonds.
You're saying oversubscribed at the moment?
Well, yeah, that's my understanding. You know, I've been working diligently myself and trying to help raise money for these bonds. As you know, I'm a former stockbroker on Wall Street. I spent my entire professional career selling securities, so I know all about stocks and bonds and how to sell them. And there's indications of interest for over $1 billion in these bonds. So we think that the offer is going to go really, really well. So the market around the world of the $100 trillion, Michelle, in investable assets around the world, there's a real need to get exposure to Bitcoin. As the biggest money managers in the world, like Bill Miller, Ray Dalio, Paul Tudor Jones, they're all now pointing to Bitcoin as the place to be as inflation rages.
Yeah.
Paul Tudor Jones calling Bitcoin the fastest horse in the race. So they want to get Bitcoin exposure. Here they're getting 6.5% while they wait for the typical cycles that the price is known for. And so they get the best of both worlds. You know, you're getting nice yield, current dividend, and you get the upside as well. So that's what makes this bond so attractive, and that's why people are lining up to buy it.
Keiser also talks at length about the disturbingly progressive decline of fiat currencies, majorly fueled by central banks' incessant money printing ventures. The former stockbroker strongly believes that most fiat currencies will become thoroughly devalued within the next 10 years. He specifically mentions that the US dollar will soon become as worthless as the Zimbabwe dollar. After a turbulent period of hyperinflation that saw inflation increasing by over 79 billion%, the African country had to adopt foreign currencies as a legal tender because its currency had become useless even in billions. By March 2020, annual inflation had exceeded 500% and over 730% by July. Most of these troubles can be traced to the government's decision to print its way out of economic hardships. To an extent, the U.S. government's monetary policies during the pandemic are quite similar. This is why top figures like Max Keiser, Michael Saylor, and Robert Kiyosaki believe these currencies are doomed. Listen to Max Keiser's explanation on what he calls a fiat money apocalypse.
Within 10 years, most of the fiat money in the world today is going to be worthless, because we're at a point now where the printing of fiat by the major central banks, whether it's the Fed, the ECB, Bank of England, Bank of Japan, has gone into hyperbolic kind of mania. And that's all going to Venezuela. In other words, Venezuela is the role model for countries like the United States and others who are just hyperbolically printing absolutely out of control. So Bitcoin in those terms is literally has an infinite price target.
But you're trying to tell me that you believe that in 10 years' time, we will see the end of fiat currency in a decade's time?
Well, I'd rather be a couple of years too early than one day too late. What we know, Michelle, is that over 300 years, not a single fiat money has escaped insolvency and losing either 100% or 99% of its value. That's the track record fiat money has for the past 300 years. None have escaped going to zero. So why would you bet that suddenly that 300-year trend is going to somehow change course? And I think over the next 10 years, as you see these economies, these major economies like the US and China, who are carrying debt loads 300% to GDP, suddenly hit the breakers, and they're going to just try to print their way out of all this. And so we're talking about a fiat money apocalypse. You know, the reason why Bitcoin is already in the tens of thousands of dollars per coin is that all of the major fiat money in the world is right now in a hyperinflationary collapse against Bitcoin. That's already happening right now. The dollar, the yen, yuan, they're all in a hyperinflationary collapse against Bitcoin right now. And that trend is going to continue.
And yet we haven't seen that reflected so far in the price of Bitcoin.
Yes,
considering...
well, how do you think you got to Bitcoin at 40,000, 50,000, 60,000 a coin?
Well, I mean, the recent decline.
The fiat money is collapsing in a hyperinflationary collapse. The purchasing power of the fiat money versus Bitcoin is collapsing. And that's why the price of Bitcoin is where it's at today. It's discounting the fact that paper money is already collapsing right now versus Bitcoin. And when a country like El Salvador makes Bitcoin legal tender, it means now you've got a country that's got the ability to give its citizens unconfiscatable wealth, uncensorable wealth, and divorce itself from the fiat money world, the IMF and these other institutions that have been really draconian in their application of loan extractions and everything that comes with it. And right. So this is the beginning of a new era, and that's going to spread. So when you have the domino effect and you have this region, like Argentina is now going down the path of hyper-Bitcoinization, all these countries in Africa are becoming hyper-Bitcoinized. So when that hyper-Bitcoinization wave starts to go global, that puts enormous pressure on the dollar. On the geopolitical front, you've now got Russia, China, Iran. They're dumping the dollar, right? So there's nobody supporting the dollar on those in those countries. So the dollar's at a genuine risk of collapsing outright here. And 10 years is a long time in geopolitical terms. And when you've got something like Bitcoin, who's been appreciating at over 100% a year for more than 11 years, it's been the best performing asset in 11 years, and that's set to continue for the next 10, 20 years.
On one hand, Keiser presents a 13-year-old digital asset that could revolutionize the investment sector. On the other hand, he presents fiat currencies with a record of failure spanning over 3 centuries. Coupled with the increasing inflation affecting the world's fiat currencies, getting aboard the Bitcoin train will not be very difficult. It will become even easier when El Salvador begins to show all the signs of exponential growth and development that Keiser mentions in his interview. What side are you on, Bitcoin forever or fiat currencies? You know we always love to hear from you. So, ensure you drop your comments in the comment section below. Also, remember to give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications. Thanks for watching.